the brother of a New Jersey millionaire, who was killed alongside his wife and 2 children before their home was set on fire, has denied any involvement in their deaths. Keith Canero, 50, his wife Jennifer, 45, and their 2 children, Jesse, 11, and Sophia, 8, were found dead at their $1.5 million mansion as it went up in flames on Monday afternoon. Keith, whose body was found on the front lawn, had been shot. Jennifer, Jesse, and Sophia were all stabbed to death. The police are investigating the deaths as a quadruple homicide and the fire as an arson. Keith's brother, Paul Canero, 51, was arrested and charged on Wednesday with aggravated arson for a fire that was reported at his own $670,000 home in Ocean Township around 5 a.m. the day before. On Thursday, Paul's attorney Robert Honecker told CNN that his client maintains his innocence on this charge and any other potential charges. His family fully support his defense of his charge. No evidence has been produced that suggests a reason why he would engage in such conduct. He fully expects to be vindicated when this case finally resolves, Honecker added. Prosecutors say Paul doused part of his home with gasoline from cans and then set it on fire, while his wife and 2 adult daughters were inside. He has not been charged for the murders of his brother, sister-in-law, or niece and nephew. He has not been granted bail. It was also revealed on Thursday that Paul stayed near his home in Ocean Township until about noon on the death of his brother's death. We know he was here up until at least 12. He was in the car and our neighbor was talking to him. The kids were using his bathroom. One of his girls came over and used our bathroom, a neighbor told the Asbury Park Press. On Wednesday, hundreds of people from New Jersey's Colts Neck neighborhood gathered to honor Keith and his family who were brutally murdered in their own home. I'd be lying if I stood here and told you this was easy, Mayor J.P. Bartolomeo told the crowd as they stood on the front steps of the town hall on Wednesday night. We lost 4 really nice people from our community, who I happen to be friends with, who my boys were friends with, a lot of you were friends with. Bartolomeo said the Caneros were well known in the community, often attending their children's sporting events. Jesse played baseball, while Sophia was a cheerleader, according to NJ.com. A neighbor called 911 about a fire at Keith's home, which was just 12 miles away from Paul's Ocean Township residence, at 12:38 p.m. on Monday. Keith was shot at least twice in the back and head, and his wife and children had been stabbed, according to NBC. All of the bodies were badly burned, and prosecutors said they were all victims of homicidal violence. Share this article. Share. There are no other suspects, and prosecutors say the family was targeted. The investigation is ongoing, but it has been slowed down by the fire. It took firefighters several hours to put out the blaze at the family's house. It is still unsafe and investigators have not yet been able to survey it in full. At a press conference on Wednesday, Monmouth County Prosecutor Christopher Gramiccioni said, "We can't charge people unless we have evidence. We can't even send largely our investigators in there. It remains unclear if the family was murdered before the fire was reported at Paul's house or afterwards. It is also unknown who called 911, but he and his wife Susan escaped unharmed along with their 2 adult daughters. Afterwards, he sat in his car with his wife and 2 daughters," neighbors told Daily Mail. On Wednesday they were shocked Paul had been arrested and described him as a proud homeowner. Keith used to visit him often, they said, but had not been to his brother's home for a while. One man, who did not wish to be named, said he believed it was unlikely that Paul would set his own house on fire because he had worked so hard on it. He said the family seemed genuinely devastated by the fire and were grieving over the house, but that Paul made a remark about being blamed for it which surprised him. He said, "They make it seem like it's your fault." I was like, huh? Why the hell would you say that? If I'd been him, I'd be thinking, my house is burned, how do I fix it? That's what I would have been thinking, not that they made me feel like I did it. And even if they did make me feel that way, I'd still be thinking of the financial impact that it would have for me, the man said. The daughters, the wife, they were all grieving, the way you would grieve over a child, because they were so proud of that house. We went over to see what happened. He was sitting in his car with his wife and girls. The first thing he said to us was, "I'm in shock." He was visibly shaken. If it was fake, you'd have to be a pretty damned good actor. It was shaking, nervous, he added. His house is loaded with surveillance cameras. He also has infrared on both floors, scanning the whole house. He's nuts with technology, everything over the top. He told me he spent $140,000 building his deck. It's stainless steel screws, it's so over the top for this neighborhood. That's why I keep saying there's no way he lit fire to his own house. He's so passionate about it. It's his baby. So to torch it, if it turns out that that's the truth, I'll be totally surprised, the man said. The man also remarked on how Paul was ambitious but did not have the same level of success as his younger brother. He's a guy who is enamored with financial success. He liked the good stuff. He's got his girls Porsches for their first cars. That doesn't fit the profile of a person who lives in this neighborhood. I mean, the Porsche dealer comes and brings cars by and tries to sell him cars at his house. I've seen it happen. He likes to be the big shot. He's a big fish in a little pond. His brother can afford a Colts Neck place on a piece of land. Paul is a big shot in an upper middle class neighborhood, he said. After the fire at his house, Paul and his wife Susan stood outside for around 7 hours, according to his neighbors. He said it must have been a gas leak. He had tears in his eyes. Susan was devastated, one neighbor, who did not want to be named, told New Jersey. Calm. He said, "I'm in complete shock. I can't believe this is happening to me. They were here until about noon." Keith and Paul were partners in a tech consulting firm, where Keith was the CEO and founder and Paul was the vice president. They both grew up in Brooklyn with a younger brother, Corey, who does not appear to be involved in the fires or murders. Both Paul and Keith married women from Staten Island. At Paul's wedding in 1991, Keith acted as the best man. They were also partners in a pest control company. They operated from the same office. Colts Neck, where Keith lived, is a well-to-do community about 50 miles south of New York City and is home to horse farms. One woman, who owns a horse farm near Keith's home, told the Asbury Park Press that Jennifer often brought the children by to feed the horses.